More decoupling from China on Wall Street. A prominent American venture capital firm is planning to separate its business from the country. At the same time, it's using money raised from American pension funds to invest in Chinese AI and microchip companies. What role are U.S. politicians playing in the shift? Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. American venture capital firm GGV Capital is backing off from China. That's as political pressure mounts on American companies to limit investments in Chinese technology. Let's dive in.
GGV Capital plans to split its business into two, with one half focused on Asia and the other on the United States. GGV's move follows a similar one by Sequoia Capital, which is splitting its business in China from operations in other Asian countries. Economic and geopolitical tensions in the area have created a harsh investment climate in the world's second-largest economy. The firm was put under review by a U.S. congressional committee this year over funding it sent to Chinese technology companies. GGV Capital manages around $9 billion in assets, including some American pension money. It invests that money globally, including in dozens of Chinese companies such as shopping giant Alibaba and TikTok's parent company ByteDance.
A new step toward countering China. The U.S. is finishing one last step before handing out almost $40 billion in subsidies to semiconductor makers. The money comes with one goal in mind: boosting microchip production on home turf. The final stretch is all about how the money should be spent. It comes with restrictions, aiming to block countries like China and Russia from getting their hands on U.S. government funding.
And so we have to be absolutely vigilant that not a penny of this helps China to get ahead of us.
Experts say control over the latest chip technology could mean the difference between winning and losing future wars.
Well, really, semiconductors represent the single most fundamentally important product in the modern digital global economy. Semiconductors drive everything from our cars to our computers and phones to the entire panoply of weapon systems that drives a country's national security.
That's why chips are at the heart of U.S.-China competition. The U.S. leads in chip design, but lacks the ability to make them on home soil. America imports over 90% of its advanced chips from Taiwan, an island under the threat of war with China.
I feel the pressure. We are behind. But it is more important that we get it right.
What are the new rules' terms as related to China? First off, those who get the subsidies can't spend the money to improve manufacturing in countries like China for 10 years. They're also banned from doing joint research with China and licensing technology with Chinese entities. If the companies violate the rule, the Commerce Department can't take back the money. Decouple from communist China. Vivek Ramaswamy said the statement will become his foreign policy towards China if he becomes the next U.S. president.
Rat protiv poljoprivrednika je započeo u Nizozemskoj.
A lot of people have no clue that agriculture contributes about 33% of all the emissions of the world. We can't get to net zero unless agriculture is front and center.
They want me to produce less nitrogen.
So what does that mean? How many cows are you going to have left? Steaks?
We have to reduce half.
Would you be able to do that?
I don't know.
You can see the attack on farmers all over the world. It's an agenda that is being pushed through government officials in respective countries.
We live in fear. What are they going to do next to us here?
This is a crisis which is man-made. This man-made decision put us at a very dire state.
This is a problem when you make environmental policy more about politics than results.
The government wants to control the food, so we don't eat meat, but we eat insects or something like that.
We can put insects in all of those. Burgers, pasta, bread, smoothies.
So this right here is sort of the future of food.
Yes, this is future of food.
There's a group of people that is thinking they're doing everything good for nature. And they are against farmers. And why? I don't know. Because they think we do everything wrong.
We are headed into a time of very significant food shortages. Many millions of people are going to find themselves starving, and that is simply unnecessary.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Thought Leaders Now, our special spin-off series of the original American Thought Leaders program. Today, our guest, coming back after a couple of years' sojourn, is Rabbi Yaakov Menken. He is the managing director of the Coalition for Jewish Values. Rabbi Menken, so good to have you back.
Thank you for having me.
I want to talk about a series of things, but it came to my attention that just yesterday, as we're filming today, Governor Hochul in New York State has announced kind of new provisions following up on the Biden approach to anti-Semitism, an anti-hate in education center. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Well, the idea of having an anti-hate effort and countering anti-Semitism, the fact that the administration now has a united strategy is obviously a very good concept. The problem that we identified with the countering anti-Semitism strategy as it emerged from the White House is that it really has taken a partisan approach. And I guess my biggest concern about the New York Center, obviously New York needs a huge effort to combat anti-Semitism. The majority of hate crimes in the city are being committed against visibly Orthodox Jews. the focus has been on Orthodox Jews. So having this critically important idea, but at the same time, the partisan shade obfuscates certain forms of anti-Semitism and allows it to flourish. And that's what we're concerned about.
Well, explain to me how that works then.
When the anti-Semitism strategy was announced, President Biden said a great deal about Charlottesville and neo-Nazis marching in Charlottesville. Well, Nazi hatred of Jews, the facade that they used at the time, was the scientific study of race. Today, that has no cultural purchase. Really dirty people are Nazis. Nobody wants to be identified with a Nazi. So you find a new, socially acceptable way to mask your hatred. That's what anti-Semitism has always done. And so, as Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, the late chief rabbi of the United Kingdom, put it, he said, you know, then they said it was about science, now they say it's about human rights. We don't hate the Jews, we just hate their ethnicity? No, now it's we don't hate their ethnicity, we just hate their country.
Well, okay, but what people will say, well, that's a kind of a defense against any criticism of Israel, right? That's what I hear quite often being said.
That makes, obviously that's a good dodge. I mean, I criticize